So what we're going to do is we're going to pop over to GP Self-Test and we're going to go through a couple of particular topics, certainly with the admin, just to see where the videos we have already done can relate to. So if you go on to GP Self-Test and go on to topic specific, and if you scroll down, you've got your evidence base, so that's basically your statistics from that point. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at leadership and management. Out of area registration, so we're going to do 20 questions together. 40-year-old woman works in the solicitor's office opposite your surgery. She lives in the next town over, but wants to register with your practice. She feels it'd be easier to get to a GP appointment close to her work. Your surgery is in England. So this is touching upon out of area registrations. Now, what's interesting with the question is that there is nothing mentioned about boundaries, and that's the key bit for this question, okay? So she lives opposite your surgery, doesn't matter. Or sorry, she works opposite your surgery, really doesn't matter, but it doesn't give any specification of where the next town is, because that could still be within your boundary. So in short, so it's got here that she cannot register. Nope. She can register, but should be informed about arrangements in place for her. She should be to attend your surgery. The woman should be told to dual register. The woman cannot register as she lives outside your practice area. Well, we don't know that in the question. The woman is still entitled to home visit if she registers as an out-of-area patient. So let's go through these individually. So we know she can register because we just don't know where she is in the boundary. So that's A's wrong, C's wrong, and D's wrong from that way. The woman's entitled to home visits if she registers as an out-of-area patient. Well, we don't know that she's an out-of-area patient, and that's not correct. And I've got a separate video on that. I'll leave a link below. So the answer left is B. And let's check it. There we go. Nice green tick. And move on from that point. And we'll move on to the next question. Proving healthcare for the homeless. So first thing, with the title homeless, you must think whatever the answer is, it's the nicest option, okay? So a 43-year-old gentleman presents at reception asking to register. He's no proof of address and discloses that he's homeless, currently sleeping rough. He's planning to stay in the area for the foreseeable future. So register the patient as temporary address, register the patient as temporary resident, refuse to register, advise the patient to attend a local ED, advise him to register at another GP practice. Okay, so we can use, so the nicest option is to register the patient using a temporary address or the surgery address, as the rest are just a bit mean, and you can see we got that spot on. What term best describes the local NHS GPs elected and appointed in localities to represent the interests of GPs to the NHS health authorities? Okay, so it's the Integrated Care Board. I've got a video coming up about this. That's the wider area in terms of dealing with health. GP Federation, no, that's a separate organisation that's used to align services. Local area team, nope. The health board, again, nope, and it is the LMC. I haven't done a video on this, but it is on the agenda to do so. Which one of these regarding GMS contract is correct? Select one option. The GMS contract is a national contract between general practices and NICE. Okay, well, we know that's already wrong because that's what NICE doesn't do. It sets standards and recommendations. The Jarman interest is used to calculate payments to practices. Nope, it's the Carhill formula. Thank you very much. The contract is negotiated nationally every year between the NHS England and GPC. Well, we know that that's potentially correct because we get thrust upon that every year, and I've done a video on GP contracts. DES are special services, activities provided by GP practices. No, so DES is everything that every GP must do. There is what they're talking about. Special services is what's called a LES, that's locally enhanced services. Child health surveillance is an enhanced service. Well, no, we want to do child surveillance, and i.e. all the immunisations as our standard process. So we're going to go with that, and we're going to hit check just to make sure I'm not completely mad. Marvellous. Which one of these following incidents must be reported under reporting of injuries, diseases and dangerous occurrences regulations, RIDDOR? Okay, so for a RIDDOR report, what you must do is it must be from an injury due to work and proven due to work, and you'll see why. So your typist develops severe cramps in her forearm, so that's probably the most likely answer, but let's go through the rest of them. Patient takes his own life by hanging in the local park. RIDDOR's to do with work, so though this is unfortunate, it's nothing to do with the workplace. Your practice nurse sustains self-harm injuries to a lower leg, again, not to do with work, unfortunately. Your salary GP develops perioral dermatitis, can't prove it's due to work. Your FY2 takes time off work owing to stress after being shouted at by an angry patient. Now this one you think, oh, could it be because they've mentioned about being shouted at by a patient, but you can't, with this stress, you can't prove that it was 100% solely due to the work. And so actually you're thinking, right, the only one that's really the most right, pardon my grammar, is A. So let's see if this is correct. We've got occupational related things. So with that dermatitis, if it was on the hands, so due to the soap, then would be a RIDDOR report. So this is to do with practice management, but it's actually to do with temporary. Someone wants to register as a temporary registrant. He lives outside of your practice, currently staying with his mother for 6 weeks. Okay, so it's basically, do we know what forms to fill in? So having a look at this, TR1, haven't got a clue. GMS3 now, potentially. ESA, so anything ESA is to do with long-term sick and employment. PMS2, nope. GMS1 now. GMS1 is for your full-time, full registration, so that leaves us GMS3 as your temporary resident. Yeah, there you go. Practice informs you at your weekly meeting that a patient has recently been removed from the practice list. Under which of the following circumstances can a patient be removed from the practice list? So practice lists are very, very difficult to remove patients from. I've done a video all about sort of registrations through to death, and that's included from that way. Again, just bear that in mind. If you know it's very difficult to do, that the answer's got to be the trickiest one here, okay? So patient is an asylum seeker. Patient moves out of area for a period of 2 months. So potentially that one, because they've mentioned about out of area. Patient has repeatedly missed appointments at the practice, though very annoying, isn't actually a reason to remove them. Patient's current address cannot be confirmed following a PCSE request. And finally, the patient has a disagreement with the practice manager. Okay, so we know that if patients are rude to our staff or abusive to our staff, then that's a reason to remove. But actually having a disagreement is probably not strong enough for that way, so it's not that one. Patient moves out of area for a period of 2 months. Well, actually, it's sort of, that's that grey area of whether can we prove it and are they coming back? Okay, and there's a sort of a bit of fudgering from that way. So really, the only one that we're left with is D. Patient's current address cannot be confirmed from that way. So let's have a look at that, and we can see a green tick here. I'm just curious to see whether actually, if a practice cannot confirm that patient is addressed within 6 months, okay, so that's from the guidance there. That was the one bit that I wasn't too sure from that way. Which one of these organisations are responsible for revalidation in the UK? Select one option only, okay? So basically who validates you, having a look through here, is your GMC, okay? So that's who you're registered with and then who you're going to revalidate on a 5-year period. If you're registered within the UK, that 5 years starts. So as soon as you say qualify from university or you've moved to the UK, you'll be registered with the GMC, and then every 5 years that revalidation cycle happens. If you're within training, so if you're watching this as a GP registrar and you've hit that 5 years, it will happen automatically, because what happens is that they will register that you're in an active training scheme and just bump it through without any issue. If you're qualified, then you'll need to make sure you have an appraisal on an annual basis, and then as long as you're in date for your appraisals, that will almost automatically go through to your revalidation. Practice has received a letter of complaint. Complaint letters. We've done a video on this, so we know that when the first thing that we've got to remember is number 3. So 3 days. Let's see if it's one of the answers. Alleging an unacceptable delay in diagnosis. The complaint is discussed at the practice meeting, although the GP involved in the patient's case is currently on annual leave for 2 weeks. According to the NHS Complaints Procedure Guidance, the patient's complaint must be acknowledged, here we go, within how many days? So we know that it's 3 days. Again, whole video on complaints. I'll put a link to that below. Which of the following items do not contribute to income of GP practice? Okay, so we've done a video about GP contracts and where do we get income from. So global sum, yes, we know that. That's to do with all of your patient registrations in your list. QOF, quality outcome framework, absolutely, that's the majority of your income. Local enhanced services, yes. Direct enhanced services, yes again. So it's leaving home visits to register patients. Well, that is what you should be doing anyway, and you don't get paid extra for doing that. Crumbs, tricky one here. Complete the most, so removal of patient from the NHS list. Complete the answers to the following statements which relate to removal of the patient's GP list by selecting the single most appropriate course of action from the drop down. Each option may be used once, more than once, or not at all. 21-year-old living in Brighton moves to another address in England which is outside of the practice area but wants to continue attending the same practice. So let's see what our options. No grounds. Well, actually, we do have grounds. So we can issue a written warning letter that they are at risk of removal, notify the primary care organisation, remove from the practice list, take effect immediately, notify the practice care organisation and removal from the practice list after 21 days, okay? So she's outside the practice area, so really we need to, from that way, it's down to the practice to see whether they can do it. So it's a bit tricky, this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a stab at a guess. When we've removed patients from the practice list, there's normally a lag time. We did it when I had one removed from our practice, it took 28 days. So that 21 doesn't seem to be this. I think probably then the nicest possible way is issue a written warning letter, because you can then, if she's adamant, then you can register, but she must be aware of the services that are not available to her, i.e. emergency care, if she can't make it back. A 41-year-old is verbally aggressive and makes a threat of violence to all the practice nurse. The police are called. So that's ground, I want to say that's immediate. Again, it might be 21, I apologise if it is. 27-year-old submits a written complaint regarding practice. She has 3 previous complaints, right? Just because patients are annoying, and there's no grounds to remove her. I apologise if I get any of these wrong. Oh no, right, fine. No grounds. Interesting. So we talked through this, okay? So again, this is just tying in with actually, does she then sign your local agreement? So apologies that I got wrong. Statements for fitness to work. You speak to a 55-year-old man after your morning surgery. He's recently been discharged from hospital following a stroke with dense right hemiparesis. Prior to the stroke, he was fit and well. He asked for a statement of fitness to work. You issue a certificate for not fit for work. What's the maximum length of time you can issue a certificate for? I want to say, I don't actually know off the top of my head. I guess it's either 3 or 6 months. Let's check. I apologise if I get this wrong. There we go, 3 months. According to the NHS complaints regulation, what's the time limit to acknowledge a complaint? Same question again, different wording. We know 3 working days. What's the standard NHS time period after an adverse incident has occurred by which a patient can lodge a complaint? Now, this is an interesting question, okay, because I disagree with the actual wording of this, because I've answered a similar question before. Because if there are extenuating circumstances, or if it's a really bad complaint, for want of a better description, then there is no real time limit, or they add in that grey fuzzy area. And because of that, it can be indefinite, which is slightly frustrating, but the standard procedure is that it's 1 year. Again, a 23-year-old phones you for advice. Contacted the out-of-hours service 2 weeks ago and was diagnosed with viral gastroenteritis. He then deteriorated and missed to hospital with acute appendicitis. He wants to make a complaint and demands financial compensation for his time off work. So he's lodging a complaint. But the question immediately, who is, I'm going to put inverted commas, at fault from this one? It's not you. So actually, he's sort of like, where are you meant to direct him, okay? So advise him, although it was unfortunate, he has no basis to make a complaint. He can make a complaint all he wants. Whether it's justified or not is not for you to decide. Advise him to contact the LMCs, not what they're there for. Advise him to contact the out-of-hours provider. Well, actually, he was the out-of-hours provider who gave him that advice, so that's probably a maybe. Advise him to contact the GMC. Again, yes, you could, but it's the reason why I would steer clear from that answer is because it's not naming a particular doctor. If it said that, say, a patient had seen Dr. X and was concerned about their care that they received from them, they wanted to lodge a complaint about that specific doctor, then absolutely the GMC is one route to go down. And then lastly, advise him to contact a solicitor. Again, maybe, but not really appropriate. He just wants to make a complaint rather than sue or do any legal action from that way. So again, lodge into advice to the out-of-hours provider. So everywhere will have a complaints procedure, and everywhere has got to, similar as we've already documented, about what we do sort of going forward from that way. 35-year-old woman makes a complaint to the practice. Practice must acknowledge the complaint. Again, same question again. You can see there's recurring themes. That's why I did a video on it. 3 days. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Relevant access to medical record must be given with how many days of receipt of written request and appropriate fee. Okay, so must be done within 28 days, he says, and I'm praying that I get this right from that point of view. Yeah, there we go. Dealing with complaints. Oh my word. So again, acknowledge. That's all you're looking for. So the practice must acknowledge the complaint within how many days? And we know that the answer is 3 days. Thank you very much. I'll take that. What's the name of the tool used to adjust the global sum paid to the practice according to the demographic factors of the practice population? Again, I've done a video on this. We know that, or let's go through these just to make sure that we're not missing anything. So quality outcomes framework, no, that's just due to setting the basic level of medical care that should be provided for certain conditions. Cahill formula, ooh, yes, we think it's that. Chi-squared formula, that is that's a medical statistical term for when you've got two sort of variables and sort of working out from that way. Jarman index, I'm really annoyed at myself, I don't know what it is. Wilson-Younger criteria is all to do with screening, so why we have breast screening programs versus why we don't have a national PSA or prostate cancer screening programs, because it fails the Wilson-Younger criteria. So let's check and make sure, go from that way. And out of curiosity, see if it says what the Cahill formula was. I want to say it might be the old one. Wilson-Younger chi-squared and has replaced the Jarman index in 2004. There we go. Made myself worried there from that way. Which of the following is considered an essential service which every GP practice is obliged to offer? Okay, so with these questions, just think about, hopefully by the time you sit in the AKT, you've done a general practice placement. So it's worthwhile sussing out actually what services do they offer as part of your bits and pieces. Now, when you say offer a service, if you're sending off telephone numbers to say contact these people, that's not you offering in a service, and that's important. Okay, so travel vaccinations. Not every practice does travel vaccinations. You get paid extra for that. Weight management services. Again, that's all done externally, and you can see on the latest GPC that they're pushing through with that, which is great. Smoking cessation. All we do is send a phone number to contact the NHS smoking services. Nothing to do with us. COVID-19 vaccinations. Again, an extra service. GPs were excellent at doing this at the time of COVID-19 outbreak. So not that. And again, non-specialist care of the terminally ill, i.e. going out to visit patients who are either on palliative care register or dying. So that is part of your essential job because it's your day-to-day job. No one else is going to do it for you, okay? And palliative care aren't scaled to that level, and that's not their job, it's our job. So there we go. That's it. Let's finish attempt. See what we got, ladies and gentlemen. And look, 98%. I'll take that any day of the week. I'm Dr. Dave Highmarsh, GP Templates. Good luck.